I can't tell you how many times I've read or heard of a CEO or any other person in a managerial high position with power make millions of dollars in bonuses, and they can buy all these expensive things such as a yacht or an island or whatever it may be, while their employees are struggling to pay for their basic necessities. They can't even buy food to provide for their families, or electricity, or just rent. And what these stories do is it paints these high-powered people with a broad stroke that it vilifies them. It makes them seem as though they're not human. We turn them into demons or monsters who only care about their own self-interest and to get the dollar sign, to get money, so they can get the latest and greatest new toy. But I always thought that these high-powered people had to make decisions that had a much greater impact, that affected so many other lives, where maybe their decision-making had to be more cut and dry, because if they made a bad decision, then everything goes tumbling down. And so I was lucky enough and able to speak with a member of this elite group, and I really wanted to see for myself if he really was a monster who had a pitchfork and horns, or if that was just a poor image that society paints for him to take away and sort of try to discredit his hard work and dedication that got him to such a powerful position. So after a long day at work, can be very stressful being a CEO and president of a multinational company and everything, and you get into your car and you're about to put your key in the ignition and you're turning on the dial for the radio. What is the music that you listen to that on your way home, or that helps you relax, or just your favorite type of music that you listen to?
Oh my God, we are starting with the left foot because I am so much immersed into the business of music and into the day-to-day operation of the organization that all day long I listen to music while I work. So when I go to the car, I just plug into the news to be able to know what happened while I was working. So I don't listen to music when I am driving.
So when you're driving, it's no music because you're so used to just listening to music all the time?
I listen to music when I am traveling somewhere else, but not for work. But when I am commuting back and forth, I'm just basically trying to be connected to the world, to what is happening.
And if you don't mind, since the audience might not know exactly who you are, if you could explain why you don't listen to music because you listen to it so much on your drive back home.
Well, probably because I am the president and CEO of the Latin Recording Academy, which is the organization that gives the Latin Grammy Awards, among many other activities, all of them around and surrounded by music.
Okay, and so with that, I would just kind of want to jump into, usually I split the show up into getting to know you first and having interesting conversations. Well, actually, it's interesting conversations first and then getting to know you second, but it's so rare to be in the room with such a powerful person as yourself, a CEO, president of, like I said, such a big company that does so much. And so I kind of want to start out with people look at CEOs, I feel, and they think, oh, that person got there because of luck, they didn't have to work hard or anything. And I kind of want to know just how did you become CEO and president of LATAS and of the Latin Recording Academy?
Actually, I think it was because of luck. I have been around music since I was 9-10 years old. I became a musician when I was a kid. I probably gave my first concert when I was 11 or 12, and since then my life has been related to music. However, when I was 17, I decided that I had to have a very solid career, so I studied law. I became a lawyer, then I made a couple of specializations in corporate law and tax law, And I became then a professional as a lawyer, as an attorney, working mostly for chemical companies. So up to that date, my connection with music was only because I loved it and because I listened to music and I played music, but I didn't act professionally in the world of music. Nevertheless, all my siblings and my past were linked to engineers and to composers and arrangers. So when they knew that I was an attorney, they began asking me to help them, and I enjoyed celebrating contracts with music companies, with record labels, with publishing, with TV stations. And one thing took me to another, and all of a sudden I became an entertainment law professional without pursuing it. I worked basically for all the record labels in Latin America and the US Hispanic labels for 10 years. And I traveled a lot until one day I was so tired that I said, enough, I want to rethink my life. I resigned to what I was doing. I began to think where the future was taking me. And I decided that I was not going to be waiting in my home for something to happen. I started a company of very weird little things that were known at that time as ringtones, and no one knew what I was talking about. I was basing my business on the experience I saw in Japan. Japan was always like 2 or 3 steps ahead from the rest of the world in terms of communication.
And what time period is this?
This probably was in 1999.
Okay.
And
so not even 2000s yet. Wow.
No. Then what I did was, as I had too much free time, I began to volunteer in several organizations to be there, to be active, to try to give something back, and to do some kind of networking. And one of the organizations I joined as honorary member was the Latin Recording Academy, and then they invited me to be part of the board of trustees. And one of my jobs being in the board of trustees was to redesign the organization because it was not working as it should. So what I did was to take 2 steps back, use my previous experience, and try to define a new organization. I shared this with the board, and the board said, why don't you do it? And I didn't have so many things to do, so I said, okay, I will give you 1 year of my life just to make sure I fix this organization, I go back to my business, and you move on. And I lied because I have been on the job for 14 years now.
And that's what I was going to ask you next, because it seems you're doing an amazing job, because you've been the president and the CEO for the whole time of the company. If I'm wrong, please correct me, but I think that's what I've found out. And I wanted to understand kind of, it's hard to stay in power for so long and to have all those responsibilities. So what do you think is something that you do differently, and what they appreciate, or a characteristic that you may have that you notice that kind of makes you so successful, and why you've been where you are for so long?
Well, first of all, I don't believe in the concept of power. I think that whoever is looking for power, they should be somewhere else. Mm-hmm. The only power I have is to do bad. If I do a wrong job, if I do mistakes, then I can affect a lot of people. So you have a negative power. The positive power is to use that same word with a couple of letters before and a couple of letters after, and it's more to empower people, to be able to empower your team. So what I do is I try to surround myself with the people I respect the most, people that are much better than I in the different areas that I have to run. And my job is just to make sure that I pave the road for them to move freely, that I protect them, that I help them to get the resources they need, and when they ask me, to give opinions. But each one of them individually know exactly what they need to do in their own fields. We create a very nice bond of trust. So the only thing I do is just to be there in case they need me, and I do my job as well. So I can devote my full time and my full level of intelligence to the thing I do the best, while each one does the same. That's my job.
So it's more of a delegation of responsibilities and having a trust in your team is basically what you're saying is kind of...
I delegate responsibility, but I give the people the authority to make sure that they can use both.
And so it's kind of hard dealing with so many personalities and egos, and especially with celebrities and artists and things like that. So how do you kind of handle that? Is there a system that you kind of developed on your own? Did you notice it later on? Was it something that you kind of just have?
No, I respect them tremendously. I think that anyone who has the guts to express what they feel in a story that lasts 3 to 4 minutes, because that's the length of a song, deserves all the respect. Or a person that goes on stage to try to entertain people that they do not even know who they are, they deserve our utmost respect. So what I do in those cases is just to understand that the people who I am dealing with, they are there because they do something which is great, whatever they do. And they have been studying, and they have been punishing themselves, and probably depriving themselves from many, many joys of life, because they were rehearsing an instrument or writing songs or living experiences to be able to express to the public. So if you have respect for the people you work for, the job is much easier. Secondly, I don't live the glamour thing. When people knows what I do, people immediately tell me, "Oh, that must be very fun." No, it's not fun. I think that anything in your life can be fun. You don't need to be in entertainment industry to have a fun time. You can have fun as a banker or as a doctor. It's all depending on your personality. I have fun every single day of my life because I do what I love, and in addition, I get paid.
That's always a plus. Those are two great things.
Yes.
So again, back to that whole thing of dealing with personalities is kind of, we're talking about that a lot.
And I'm sorry,
of course.
I didn't respond
for a previous question. It's okay.
Question. How do I deal with egos? Well, I think everyone has an ego, and what I do is I respect them, but I also know that I represent an organization that is very professional, very ethical, and has a worldwide impact. So I demand the same level of respect that I give to them, to the organization I represent. So it's a mutual respect thing. Number two, I learned many, many years ago how to say yes and how to say no. And it's as difficult to do it now than doing it 1 week after. So I prefer to do it now. And I tell people no, and no is a no. And when you see a possibility of conceding a little bit, you say it. And then transparency in communication is very, very important.
Good communication, I think, in all walks of life is very important. Just communicating.
Mostly here, because the product we deal with is human beings.
Mm-hmm. And so you're talking about human beings, and the whole thing, with the elections coming up, and it's being such a high official in a company. Again, I keep stressing that, and you've been very quiet when it comes to statements and things like that. But recently, when Donald Trump said whatever he said about Latinos when he first started and things like that, he kind of opened up about that whole situation. And I'm paraphrasing what you said, but you said he needs a respectful reminder of what Latinos do for us in this country. I am included in that. And so I just, what did you mean by that? What do you mean, and why did you think it was an appropriate time to speak up and release a statement?
Well, first and foremost, my job doesn't invite me to give my personal political opinions. Now, I would have done that regardless of who was giving that comment, whether it was a Republican or a Democrat or Mr. Trump or Mrs. Clinton. Whoever would have said that Hispanics are or Mexicans are rapists,
yeah.
and that he wants to build a wall and that he wants to separate, and the only thing I said is, hey sir, this is not so easy. We are already blended in this country. I mean, you cannot separate. We are all in the same melting pot, and once the elements are combined, then you cannot separate, you cannot destroy that thing that has already happened. And culture is a very important part of that glue that brings all of us together. When Carlos Santana plays, I don't see any kind of discrimination of people saying, "Oh, I don't like Santana because he's Hispanic." Santana is Santana, and Jose Feliciano as well, and Gloria Estefan. So why do we need to all of a sudden say, no, this music is part of a group that doesn't pertain to this country? No, baloney. Basically, everyone is entitled to come to this country for whatever reasons they have, be peaceful here, and music and culture are an essential part of that peace seeking method, if you want to call it that way.
And I think it's kind of funny, and I mean that loosely, in the way that you said how it's not right to kind of group categories. You just, in terms of Latino music and things like that. So why is there a need then for Latin Grammys and American Grammy? Why classify them as Latin Grammys or all the different types of Grammys when it can be kind of universal, or it should be universal, at least in my opinion, because music is something to the ears. It's something that you listen to if you're stressed, if you're happy, if you're sad. It's something that should be universal. So why do we categorize it or separate it or compartmentalize it?
The first idea to create a Latin Recording Academy and the Latin Grammy Award came from the Recording Academy, which is, let's call it, the Anglo part of the organization, what we usually call the American Grammys.
I was going to say, it's a nice way of saying that.
There is the Grammys that are given basically to many genres of music. They used to recognize more than 100 categories. I think they are now around 75 to 80. I do not have the accurate amount in my mind. So they have to understand a certain kind of music that was not part of their daily life, like salsa or like mariachi music or norteño music or Texan music. So they knew that something was happening, but they were not prepared to deal with that kind of music because they were different rhythms, because they were different languages, because there were different musicians and music styles. So they decided to create like an organization that would focus in those genres that they couldn't be able to give the treatment that they wanted to give. So they created an academy. They call it Latin. I do not know why. I think it's a terrible mistake to call it Latin, but they called it Latin, and we need to live with that. And what we did was, first of all, to understand what separates us, what makes us different from the Grammys, in order to be able to deliver the results that we were looking. So the Grammys are given to in the US for musicians, producers, engineers, performers, songwriters that write mostly in English, whose releases are released commercially in the US, period. Now, we give awards to all music that is written in Spanish or Portuguese, regardless the country where they were commercially released. The only condition is that they are written in Spanish or Portuguese, and number two, that they are released commercially, of course, and that the voting members are from the countries where those genres are recognized. So it's not taking Thriller of Michael Jackson, translating it into Spanish, and then releasing it in Bolivia, and then
voting on it, right?
Yeah, or to try to compete.
Right.
The idea is to make sure that you understand that there are so many genres, cueca in Chile, and samba with Z in Argentina, and samba with S in Brazil, and ranchera in Mexico, or mariachi, and then you have merengue in Dominican Republic, and then you continue looking flamenco or tango, and you can bring so many genres that are basically produced in other countries other than the US, that they shouldn't be left aside because they are very important as well.
So I'm sorry to interrupt. So even though we're kind of separating, like you said, Latin and the American Grammys, you think it kind of opens the door for opportunity, you're saying, for more people to win awards? Because to me, I kind of feel it kind of shuts out people because you were saying the criteria, I'm not sure if that's the only criteria, is that it has to be written in Spanish or Portuguese and recognized in that country. That's a question I would like to know. Is there more criteria?
I think we are shutting up the opportunity to people who write music in English in any country that is not the United States to compete.
But then, so what about a musician who does both? J Balvin, for example, he has songs in English as well, and things like that. And
well, his album can compete provided more than 50% of the album is
sold in the
written or performed in Spanish or Portuguese.
Right.
What he cannot do is to enter one of the songs into a song category if the song is basically written in English. But if the song has more than 50% of the lyrics in Spanish or Portuguese, then he can compete.
Okay. So it's a non-profit organization, which when I found out, I'm not going to lie, it dropped my jaw a little bit. It's kind of like the NFL being a non-profit. People kind of take a step back and it's like, whoa. So what makes it a non-profit? What do you guys do to help, to help keep that status? And what are some of the challenges that because you've been also for-profit CEO or VP for a for-profit company as well. And so I was just wondering, what are some of the different challenges between a non-profit and a for-profit company?
Well, probably non-profit doesn't mean that you need to be broke to be successful. Non-profit is to understand that you don't distribute profits, you don't have shareholders, you don't have stocks. So whatever money that you make for the organization remains in the organization. Now, there are non-profits that have been abused more than used.
Definitely.
Abused for many things. What we do is whatever coin we have after the fiscal year ends, we send it to a foundation that we created 2 years ago when we began having a little bit of surplus, and all that money goes to provide students who have the talent but not the financial resources to study in the best universities in the world. So we have been able to provide students to go to Berkeley, to go to Manhattan School of Music, just to give you two examples, to many universities in Latin America and Spain. And we pay, in the case, for example, of the best scholarships, we pay 4 years of full tuition, housing, food, and the trip going up and the trip going back to your country. What we want to make sure is that students who have all the ability in the world but that didn't have the economical possibilities do not ever stay at the side, and then 50 years later when one son or one grandchildren ask you, Granddad, why you didn't succeed as a musician? And he says, well, because I didn't have the money. We are trying to do our job in there. We also give grants for preservation of sound recordings or investigation of genres that tend to disappear because it's part of the culture of all our big region. With that, we try to help in any way we can to other causes, like donating instruments to every school that we visit. We try to leave a legacy. We obviously try to visit schools that are established in poor neighborhoods, so and where music is important. So we give them $25,000, $30,000, up to $50,000 in instruments as our legacy for that school. And then we come 1 year later just to check if they are playing
see if they're
correctly.
still using it.
Yes. So we have been trying to do that. So whatever money we have, it goes back to our community, to mostly to the kids.
And
to children.
so those are donations, but are those donated to you guys, and then you guys donate, or whatever money you guys make? You
No,
guys
whatever money.
Okay.
Yeah, we have some kind of donors that help us for specific. So there are sometimes when we have companies or individuals who have seen our job,
Right.
they trust our organization, they come and they say, we want to give you money, and they give it. And what we do is we make the process very transparent. And the other thing that we do is we invite an artist to give the instruments on behalf of the foundation, because we want to create an impact in the minds of the kids, that they receive their donation from Juanes or Juan Luis Guerra or Carlos Vives or Julieta Venegas or Natalia Lafourcade. Whoever comes and gives them the instruments, we are sure that will create an impact on the kids.
Creating
they will
a role
never
model.
forget
Yeah, right,
about this.
right.
Yeah, because they are role models
Correct.
and they're personalities.
And so it's kind of cool that you've been here from the beginning, because you got to see the baby grow into kind of the adolescent that it is now. So
Actually, I was not here at the beginning.
okay.
I joined after the third year, and the organization was in dire straits. It was
Okay.
not having a good time.
yeah, because I saw it started in '97, but the first Latin Grammy was in 2000.
It was incorporated in '97, and
Okay.
it took a lot of planning before starting, because you cannot start an organization like this if you don't have members. The members are the people who vote. And we have right now close to 3,500 members in more than 42 countries. And to have them, you need to go and then sell an idea. And there are people who say, why do I need to join you? I want to be part of the Grammys. That was one of the first challenges we had. Why do I want to pertain to the Latin Grammys? I want to be part of the big Grammys.
Right.
Well, right now we don't have that problem anymore. I think that people has clearly understand that you can pertain to both. And my feeling, and I say this with a lot of humility, but also with a lot of assurance, that any person that is related to the Latin music industry, regardless where they are based, pertaining to the Latin Recording Academy, is a prestige. Is a level of, you can be cocky about it.
Definitely, you get that sense of pride. It was definitely when you talk about it. And I was talking about it with my grandparents, who are Ecuadorian as well, and they love they love the ceremony and they love everything. And it's funny because I was talking about them and I was giving my opinion of how, like I was telling you just now, how I feel kind of we're shunning opportunities away from other people, but now you're opening my eyes into saying that no, we can do both, and we are opening the door for not only Latins and Brazilians and Portuguese people and Spaniards and all sorts of Latins, and so I thought that we were closing the door, but they were saying that no, it's an honor, as you're saying. It's with pride that we get to see the celebration of our culture, and I think that is something that's very important. I just don't know if maybe, do you think in the future this is going to be the way that it is? Do you think it might change? What do you think the landscape is?
You will need to ask a wizard, because I do not have a clue what the future is. What I can guarantee you is that in the future there will be music. Music is part of our life.
Okay, and thank you so much again for being here with me. I really appreciate it. I think it's very important what you do, and like I said, to spread word, especially in a time now where we're in a tumultuous period of race and culture, and people kind of back and forth on talks of pride of certain cultures. And so I think what the Latin Grammys is doing, and organizations like this do help bring light to cultures that it's important that we need to highlight them. And something like this is, I think, very great, and I'm grateful that there is something like this.
It's something that we should all feel very proud about it, because it's basically, once the Latinos took over this administration, it's basically a reflection of what we can do when we work together. Let me share with you just a couple of concepts.
Of course.
Number one is that one of the things I like people to know, and mostly young people like you, is there are no limits. Whatever you want to do in life, you can do. If you want to go and work for the Nobel Prize Academy, you can do. If you want to be helping in the United Nations, you can do it. If you want to be an astronaut, you can do it. The only thing you need to do is to work hard and to make sure that you take the several steps. No one is going to come and offer it to you. No one. No one is going to tell you, hey, you look bright, I would like to bring you here, to take you with baby steps to wherever you want to do. And no one needs to decide your life. You need to decide your life, no one else. So if you take the necessary steps, the ones that are logical, the ones that your common sense dictates you to do, you can do whatever you want in life. That's number one. And number two, and this goes very much to Latin America. We were raised and educated in a way that we were always expecting someone to give us instructions on how to proceed. Either your parents or your teachers. They would come and tell you, you need to study this for tomorrow. They never made you think, what is what you need to do to be better tomorrow? They told you how to be better, but they never taught you to understand that you are the one that can decide what is better for you. I don't think many of the kids would say, oh, I need to do my homework because but if you make people think, if you make people to understand that reading is good, and you teach them that there are fantastic books to read, and they learn to read, then it becomes part of your life. The reason I'm saying this is because one of my biggest challenges during the initial years was to go to countries, to many countries, where they would tell me, how can I join? And I would tell them, well, very easy, go to our website, latingrammy.com, and you do the research there. Well, but no one has ever called me. Why do we need to wait for people to call us? We need to take action.
Be proactive.
You can be proactive. In these days, there are no limitations to the resources we'll have. Having a phone, a smartphone, of course, having a computer, you can go wherever you want to understand that you can dig in and then apply, go there, volunteer, offer yourself. If I had not volunteered to work for the Grammys or the Latin Grammys, I wouldn't be here. I would be still waiting for someone to call me and tell me, we thought about you, you would be great for this job. No, it doesn't work like that. You need to be there, you need to study, you need to learn languages, you need to open your mind to whatever you have in front of you, and that's
the rest will
what
fall
life
into
is.
place, right? Yeah.
Yes, and work hard.
Work hard, definitely. So my last question for you again, I'm very curious. So what is your favorite instrument?
I am a drummer.
Drummer?
Yes.
Wow, I would have not guessed that. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm a drummer, but I can play piano and marimba as well.
Marimba?
Yes.
What is that exactly?
Marimba is the wooden, is like a xylophone.
Okay.
But of wood, made of wood, is an instrument.
Do you also hit it like a xylophone with the?
Yeah, but you need to vibrate, and it's a beautiful instrument because it's made out of beautiful woods. It's an instrument that comes initially from Africa, but the countries that really play it is Cuba, Mexico, Guatemala, and I think that's about it. It's like a piano but made of wood, and it has some kind of like wooden boxes in the bottom that give like the echo sound, but those boxes have like a little hole where they put some kind of like honey, wax.
A wax. Okay.
A natural bee wax, and then they put some kind of like skin. They call it cat skin. It's not cat skin, but it's something like if it were a very delicate plastic.
Okay.
And that makes like a bzzz,
like a vibrating sound.
That vibrates with the wooden box below the key and gives the marimba its flavor.
So is it kind of like a high pitched sound? Is it more low pitched?
No.
It's
you have
range.
Octaves,
it's a range. Okay.
So it's like a huge xylophone.
Okay.
or vibraphone,
Okay.
if you want to call it.
Very
but
cool.
made of wood.
Awesome. So drummer, marimba,
Well,
piano.
anything where you need sticks.
Where you need sticks.
Yeah.
I see that. Okay. Well, definitely you need to juggle a lot of sticks when you're the president and CEO. And I know you're super busy. And thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I really appreciate it. Muchas gracias. Muchas gracias, señor Abaroa.
Al contrario, gracias a ti.
Gracias.
I didn't get this fire-breathing scary monster or a heartless robot. No, instead what walked in was a man in a button-down shirt with jeans and comfortable shoes on, who was calm and confident and just happy with life, and who happened to just work and do what he needed to do, pay his dues to get to where he is today in such a powerful, prestigious position. And so I just want to say thank you one last time to Senor Abaroa for giving me that chance of sitting down with him and really just getting a glimpse into who he really is, not what society paints him as. And so if you just follow like Senor Abaroa, then I hope you find your passion, pursue it, and peace.